My whole family swears by this dumpling recipe. We've tested this over several years and everyone's got opinions. We had group chats to get this recipe out. It's Lunar New Year, so you can be very sure that we're really serious about our food. This has become a family tradition of mine and I'm very, very happy to share this recipe with you guys. Right now, we're going to be making our dumpling skins from scratch. The glory and the joy of making your own dumplings, it's actually all in the skin. Sure, you can buy your own dumpling skins, but trust me, when you've learned how to make them yourselves, the result is so much better. And it only takes 3 ingredients. It's really quite simple. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. And you get this nice chewy dumpling skin. It's going to be fantastic, just like my cheeks. We start with 420 grams of all-purpose flour into our mixing bowl. Now we're using a stand mixer today with a dough hook, but if you want to and you have guns and pipes, then sure, go ahead and knead this yourself. Next, a little bit of salt. So I try to mix my dry ingredients together first as a habit before I add liquid ingredients in. Let's go. On medium to low speed, and I'll pour my water in a slow trickle. You see it's not really clumping together because there's not that much water, but that's fine. So I'm gonna pause the mixer now, help to gather everything and give the dough a bit of a chance to clump together. Right, you saw me adding the water in a trickle just now. If you dump all the water in at once, you'll find it's just a sloshy mess and it doesn't help the flour to absorb the water, right? So you're trying to give it as much of a head start as possible. Now after your dough's been mixing for a couple of minutes, you'll find that it's clumping together, but it's still looking a bit craggy. That's perfectly fine. And I'm gonna knead it a little bit with my hands so you can see that it's coming together and very little stuff is sticking to my hands. That's the kind of texture that you want. Put the dough down on the table surface and you use the heel of your palm and you push away from you, pushing down onto the dough. This stretches it and it combines and helps everything mix and stick together, right? But it's not complete yet. You can see how it's kind of uneven. This has not been fully kneaded. This is where we go back into the bowl, dough hook once more. Right, at this point, I'm gonna let the dough go for about 10 minutes and then we will see that the texture will change. It'll be nice and soft and supple and smooth. So if you take a look at the dough, the surface here is not craggy, it's not dry, it's not cracking. It's nice and supple. I press my finger into it. It's a little bit tacky, but nothing's sticking. My hands are completely clean. But I've developed all this gluten. Now I need to let the dough rest. So I'm just gonna wrap this in cling film to make sure it doesn't dry out. Next up, the filling for our dumplings. Now this is a Dumplings style chive and pork dumplings. Don't get pork that's minced too fine. You want a little bit of texture there. And the second thing is, the most crucial ingredient here is gu cai or jiu cai. This is a Chinese chive. It's different from a spring onion. The flavor is a bit stronger. It's a bit more pungent, but when cooked, it really brings out the character of the dumpling. Get a large bowl because you're gonna be doing a fair amount of mixing here. I always like to add a little bit of water or stock. This helps to bind the meat together because of the mechanical action we're going to use to beat it. It can be chicken stock, pork stock, or plain water also. I'm starting my mixing off with a pair of chopsticks. Just after a couple of minutes of mixing with my chopsticks, the meat fibers have started to align themselves and everything's getting glossy and it's sort of sticking together a little bit more. The next part of this mixing step, right, it's gonna get a little bit messy, so I'm gonna take off my watch. I'm going to gather the meat and smack it into the bowl and beat it like it owes me money, okay? I always try and go to about 40 smacks. It's actually quite specific. My dough has been resting for about half an hour. It's nice and supple, it's soft to the touch, and it's ready for me to portion out. I'm gonna roll this into a long bar. I'm gonna portion them into about 1.5 inch size pieces, and then I'll roll them onto balls, then we can start to make our dumpling skins. How did this become a thing for our family?
Our cousin from the Netherlands were visiting one Chinese New Year, and then they basically decided to hold a jiaozi party about a week after Chinese New Year. It became a thing, it was so fun.
It was quite chaotic, right? The house couldn't fit almost 35 people.
So many people.
Tell me what constitutes a good dumpling.
Well, there would be your filling, which is basically mainly pork, and cabbage. Is there cabbage? I'm sorry. Oh dear.
No, that's the other one.
I know. It's the Chinese chives.
Yes.
It would have 7 perfect folds. 3 on the right and it would be definitely pan-fried with your flour lattice.
That's a good point, okay? You keep mentioning that it's my recipe, Shan, but actually, this was tested over several rounds, and we had to R&D this and get everyone's consensus on what was the generally preferred flavor, I think. We basically put everyone in a room, we prepare all our ingredients, and then we start to roll out our dumpling skins.
It's so important because we definitely are a family that have come together over food so many times, and it's kind of like our main gathering ground and a way to always be able to connect, and it actually brings generations together. It's wonderful.
Shan, thank you so much for joining me as I make these dumplings. I love you and your family. I love all our cousins, and we'll see you soon for Chinese New Year, okay?
Yes, for 饺子.
For 饺子. Right, so when making your skins, a couple of tips. First, I like to use a short rolling pin, and I like to flour this rolling pin with just a little bit of flour. I don't like to dust the board too much because then it makes the skins not tacky and I can't seal them well enough, alright? So to make these skins, I roll my cut pieces of dough into a small ball, and I go across like that, and then back once more, and then one more time across, until I get a circuloid shape. So this is the kind of size that I want, and this is perfect. I scoop out about a teaspoon of my filling, then I start to fold. The best way to do this is connect the center of the skin first, like a little parcel, like a little handbag. Look at me going to a 饺子 party. Next, I start with the pleats on the outside of my dumpling, and I fold in and pinch, and I fold in and pinch. Doing so creates this crescent shape. And I do the same on the outside. And as I seal the dumpling and I seat it on the board, you can see how it's got this very, very nice crescent shape because I only pleated one side. Now I'm going to show you guys one more style, which is the more traditional dumpling style. And this doesn't have pleats. Dongbei style dumpling, and it's just a pinch that is just crimped like such. This is the more rustic version of a 饺子. I'm not rolling out too many skins because once you expose the skins open like that, then it dries them out further and it becomes harder for them to seal on each other. I've placed my dumplings onto baking paper here, but one thing that you can do is to give them a light dusting of flour. Make sure that the base doesn't stick to the paper or to the trays. Look at them, they're so pretty, all lined up in a row. You can boil them or you can fry them. I'm gonna fry them with a lacy skirt. They're crispy, the texture is fun, it's wonderful. So you start with a pan on medium heat, some cooking oil into the pan. Each dumpling should have a pretty flat bottom. This flat bottom is gonna help you as you crisp up the base of these dumplings, all right? Sliding them around the oil a little bit, arrange them evenly so that they're close to each other but they're not touching. And I'm looking for a little bit of a browning on the bottoms of them. This has basically water, flour, and a little bit of salt. Now, with a cover, seal that. The steam inside from the slurry is going to cook the rest of the dumplings, and all that water is going to evaporate slowly, and then what you're left with is a nice thin skirt of nicely browned flour, which gives you that crispity layer. It's time to remove the cover. The tops of my dumplings have just about cooked, and I'm waiting for the net to form. All right, that looks gorgeous. My net has formed, it's nice and brown, and it's just beginning to release itself from the sides of the pan. Sometimes if you need to, you can use a spatula to run the edge around the crispy pancake net, just to help it come off the pan. So in about 1 or 2 minutes, I'm gonna flip this over onto a plate, and we're gonna flip this around, okay? So just be very, very careful as you do this. Right, 1, 2, so. And the great reveal, ta-da! My dumpling net. Take a look at the lacy net on the outside. Oh, it's really crispy. Can you hear that? And all the bottoms of my dumplings are nicely browned, and this is looking really perfect. I can't wait to tuck into this. Woohoo! And the other way to cook your dumplings is to boil them in just plain water. Be careful not to fill your pot too full with water, because once you add the dumplings in, the amount of water will lift and it's boiling lah, okay? So rolling boil, and I usually put maybe about 8 to 10 dumplings in at a time to cook in batches. How do you know the dumplings are done? I usually go for between 4 to 6 minutes, and when the dumplings float, I know they're about cooked. But there's another reason I love dumplings, and that is my very first date with my wife was to a dumpling shop. And it was one of those things I was trying to test and see whether she would be comfortable sitting in a not very fancy joint, eating delicious food. And she passed the test because obviously I'm married now. Yeah, so dumplings, guys, this is a really good test, okay? So you bring them to a place and, oh, too much info, okay, fine, never mind. Look at these, my boiled dumplings are out, and you can see the telltale sign of chewy but tender skin. And this is the skin that you made yourself. You're never gonna get this kind of texture with store-bought skins. My dumplings are always eaten with a little bit of black vinegar and sliced ginger. This is like a warm hug, guys. That chewy skin is so worthwhile to make this yourself. Okay, now I'm gonna try the crispy one. There we go. Gotier with this nice lacy wing.
So which one do you like more?
Both fantastic. They're both actually the same item that you just made. My mood is both, okay?
Okay.